Welcome to the Recycle Podcast, where we discuss everyday issues from a mental health perspective. We are your hosts,
Dr. LaFonya Jones,
Dr. Rashonda Strickland,
and Dr. Nichelle Wall. Now, don't get it twisted. We're not going to be your stereotypical therapist.
What we will be is down to earth, informative, a little spicy, and vulnerable.
All right, interns, turn up the volume, grab your pen and paper. It's supervision time. As a reminder, this podcast is not meant to take the place of a relationship with a licensed mental health professional.
Welcome back to session 21, where secrets lie.
Okay, interns, this session is going to be maybe a heavy one. We're going to be talking about family secrets. And basically, family secrets are just baggage from the past that can sometimes be carried over several generations. That's a tongue twister. I did not realize that. But it's secrets that's carried over from generations, and it's from your past, and it can be the content of the secret is what is really can be really damaging. It's really what counts in the information or the secret. That's the difficult.
Yeah, there's levels to everything, so you got your really like level 1 secrets, that are kind of things like birthday parties, engagements, things that have hopefully a celebratory reason behind them. So no, those are like your level 1 secrets.
You don't necessarily lose trust for your friends or family for keeping those secrets.
Nope.
It's that more the, I can't believe you didn't tell me.
Exactly. Yeah. I had one of those. My mom's 60th birthday party. It was, Mom, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to put your age out there like that either. I'm sorry. But for my mom's milestone birthday party, we had to like coordinate behind her back for a couple of months to pull this thing off. And my poor stepfather, it was killing him. He was like, I don't know if I can do this no more.
He was so relieved.
Oh my gosh. He was distraught.
Oh,
he was distraught. Like, look, I don't like lying to her. And it's like, well,
You better be honorable.
yeah, we call him Step. It was like, look, Step, you're not lying to her. We're trying to celebrate something with her. Yeah, he was so relieved. So you got your low level secrets like that.
Yeah.
And then you got your, let's kick it up a notch.
And that kick it up a notch can be,
financial problems.
Yeah, you took it.
Sorry. I'll
No,
be
go
quiet.
ahead. No, you were already listening. Go ahead.
Yeah, financial problems that can be impending divorce or separations.
Or not told during the dating phase for you all to kind of.
Omissions of truth or lies.
Yes. Truth by a lie by omission.
Yep.
So those would be like your level 2 lies. And then you got like your level 3s, which are, traumatic. Not that level 2 don't have its own level of, trauma, but your next ones up are going to be your things that have, long-term, deep rooted, familial, possibly generational consequences. This would be things like, I don't want to be demonetized, but, a Chester in the family.
Someone that do things to people without their permission.
Oftentimes young people.
And the whole family know about it.
So, that would be them, your big daddy family secrets.
Yeah.
That's just an example. Of course, there are more, but that's probably the easiest one to bring up as far as examples go.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
In secrets, you really don't have any place for them unless they level 1, to be honest. You need to allow truth reign in your family systems and your friend systems and all of that kind of stuff. Because if not, you don't have freedom. You just walking around living a lie, essentially.
And we know how lies go.
Yeah. And one of the I would say, I guess level 2, depending on the illness, is a level 2 lie or secret is not sharing a serious health issue.
You better say something about that.
I think that is one of the most, I don't want to say most difficult, but it's a difficult secret to, especially if the person end up dying.
Yeah.
And you didn't even know that they were sick, but they knew.
Yeah, I feel like they like to say that they was trying to protect the family or protect the friends and things like that, but I honestly feel like you don't allow the people that you chose, whether by blood or by just happenstance, to love you.
Yeah.
You don't allow them to grieve. You don't allow them to prepare for your loss. And I'm saying that from a place of, when my grandfather passed away, we didn't know until like a few months before he passed away, because he had already had one battle with cancer, beat it, did good, and we just happened to notice things when okay. And so I was like, my mom was like, and then we just kind of started finding stuff out, and then he eventually did tell us, but I'm like, I would have rather have known as soon as you knew, so that we can have as much time together and we can set everything up the way it needs to be set up. Because at the end of the day, when you pass, I'm gonna be left here.
Yeah.
And I got to deal with all these crazy jokers that you done left behind. And we all crazy together. Let's like, I want to be as healthy and as stable as possible. And that's one reason why, as soon as I found that I had breast cancer, I was like, let me go tell the office. Of course, I told my mama them first, but I told the office. I made sure that I was very vulnerable with my journey on social media, because I know I have a lot of people that love me and want me to succeed at that journey. So I was like, I'm not keeping this. I'm not carrying that burden. I don't want to carry that burden. I see what that does to the people that you love, and I also see what that does to the people that carry it.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
one of my experiences with that was my father. So my father has now had 2 kidney transplants, and the first time he had it, so for those of you who don't know much about kidney disease, when you get a transplant, you are on, my God, several medications, and you have to take them in order for the kidney to continue to adjust to your body. Well, after the first time he got his transplant, I don't know what happened. For whatever reason, he ended up running out of his medication. And like I said, he has to take that medication. Well, my mom saw the bottles on the table, so she was thinking, okay, there, he got the medication in there, he's taking it or whatnot. Unbeknownst to her, there was no medication in those bottles. But, and so that for me, it made me fearful, which turned into anger.
Yeah.
Because that was a time I would consider myself banking. So, he didn't say anything. His thing was, the medication cost a lot of money, because I don't know what was going on with insurance and stuff at that time, but he was like, the medications cost a lot of money, and I just felt like I was being a burden and things like that. And I'm like, what? Like, this was the time I had money. Why didn't you just tell me?
Yeah.
And I could have sent money, if it was that. And so when I remember when I got out there, I was so upset. It's going, get my eyes together. Get together. But when I got to the hospital, because he ended up back in the hospital because the kidney ended up rejecting his body. So when I got to the hospital, I don't even remember what I said. I just know I was just like very upset, and I was talking and like, Dad, like, and so that was the first time I had ever seen my father cry. And so my mama, she was like, okay, Fonnie, just go to the bathroom and get yourself together then come out, And so when I went to the restroom, got myself together, came back out, and I was able to talk more calm. But I was upset because I'm like, Dad, why didn't you just say something?
When you got to become the parent. I had to do my mama like that when she went through her scare and she had her, was it her second surgery? Her second surgery, she called herself wanting to dry her own body off. And I was like, you ain't supposed to be doing it. I talked real crazy to her. And I know she's looking at me like, how you going to share that with the world? First of all, I didn't say exactly what happened, but I was like, oh, you going to let me love you. And I don't care if you like it or you don't like it. This is what I'm going to do. This is why I'm here. Who else you got?
Yeah.
And she's like, you got one more time to talk to me.
I use my trump card.
Yeah. And I was like, I'm going to do what I need to do.
Yeah.
I was like, because you're not leaving me. You all I got.
Right.
Yeah. Thank God I haven't both my parents, well, my parents and my stepfather, I have not had to have a medical secret or anything like that. So I've been very blessed and fortunate in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, oh man.
I would say another kind of level 2 would be like an impending divorce. And there are several ways we can describe this, but the one way that I would say is very disturbing is when the parents are divorced and they still live together and the children don't know.
Oh yeah.
Can you say
I've had some clients like that.
Yes. That.
It's like, wait, what?
Or can't stand each other. Why y'all still sleeping in the bed? We staying together for the kids. The kids know.
Right.
Yes.
They may not have a word that says, okay, y'all are divorced, but they see this crazy mess y'all doing.
And it makes them uncomfortable because there's tension in the house.
Yeah, you teaching them this is how a relationship should be.
We were here. You walked into my brain and took them words right out. But I agree with both of you ladies. Kids are about associations.
Yeah.
So they learn to associate, oh, well, you just stay with people and don't tell people anything about what's going on in your life until the very last possible second when there's no hope for return.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's you showing the people in your life that they don't really mean that much to you. And that may not be your intent. But like we said in a previous session, there's a difference between intent and impact.
Yes.
And your impact was garbage. It was garbage.
I think sometimes people struggle with knowing the difference between, keeping something personal, because you don't want to tell every single thing about yourself, and being a blabbermouth. I think people struggle with it's either one or the other. Like you're either overly sharing or you're not sharing at all. And then the people in your life are left to kind of come up with their own storyline and what they think is happening, which then kind of creates that gossiper, like we were talking about in the last session, that it creates these weird, again, dynamics within the family because you won't at least share some of the pertinent information. Do you want to go into the nitty gritty details? Probably not, because, it may not necessarily be appropriate or necessary given your audience, but the highlights, the Cliff Notes version of what's going on can be helpful for people so that, like you said, Dr. Wall, they know how to support you. They know not know how, they know to support you.
Yes.
Well, and I think the other thing too is the statement that's often made is, well, I was just trying to protect you. Protect me from what? I can handle it. Just tell me.
Protect me from what I'm feeling right now that's compounded by
it's even worse.
These extras. Yeah.
Right. Whereas if you would just tell me what's going on, I can just deal with that emotion instead of that emotion plus the fact that you've been holding on to this secret.
I don't like stuff being snuck up on me. Just tell me. If you don't want me, if you got something, or if I need to prepare for something else, just tell me, because if you make me have to act a fool, it's going to be way worse for both of us.
Yeah, that's just the quickest way for me to not trust you.
No, absolutely.
And trust is important. It is a vital part of relationships.
Yeah. Something I talk about with my clients about trust is, now I'm not going to say you're going to find this in a book somewhere, but is that you only get blind trust one time.
Yep.
You know, you only get that. It don't matter, I fully invest in everything, and I take you for who you are. You only get that once. It's, and then the visual that because I'm a visual person and I talk in a lot of metaphors, but the visual that I give my clients is like a glass vase. That vase is only going to look like that once. If I drop that vase on the ground, I can super glue the pieces back together, but it will never look and function like it did before that situation happened. And trust is the same way. You will only get blind trust one time. And if you violate, that trust by holding a secret, and then that secret, especially if I have to find it out on my own, but if I learn this information later, then the trust that I have with you will never be the same. We can rebuild it. We can, try to do better. We can improve the relationship, but it will always be a little twinkle, little something way in the back of the brain that's going to be like, you remember when? And insert self-protection mode. So then you may not have a wall, but you may have like a sheer curtain there.
That's when them boundaries start popping up. The example I gave, like in one of the first sessions, is that you have these varying circles around you, and some people can't get close to you because they don't know how to use their access properly. And so that means you got to be way far away from me so I can see you with all my eyes and ears and nose and everything else, because you're not trustworthy.
Yeah. And the thing is, you can just mess that up with a simple secret.
Yep.
When it doesn't have to even be that way.
You lying when the truth will do.
Right. And the thing is, I consider myself to be a transparent person with the people that's close to me. And my thing is, if I'm being transparent with you, I expect for you to be transparent with me.
Yes.
Because this is a reciprocal relationship. It's not just me, you getting all the secrets on my life, and I don't have anything on you.
Exactly.
And not that I need to share anything about you, but I'm just saying that's what makes a relationship. A relationship is reciprocal, give and take of information.
Yeah.
Mutually beneficial.
Connection. That's about building bonds. And if I don't feel like there's equality, and not even that it's got to be 50-50, because I don't ever think anything's 50-50 or 100-0. But if there's not some version of flow of equality between the two of us, and I feel like you're hiding stuff from me, or that you're, purposefully trying to maneuver me around. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes when you hold secrets, you got to lie to keep the secret. And then you got to lie again, and you got to lie about that lie. And then you got to remember, and then a little bit of truth is going to slip out. But then it's like, oh, shoot, let me lie to cover up that truth. Yeah,
because then once you hear the little bit of truth that came out, you're going to be like, well, I thought you said that at 450 you had went to the gas station. You said you went to the mall.
Girl, you better than me, because I'd be like, oh, okay.
Nope.
In my head, I'm like, let me calculate all this stuff, because this not going to be a good situation. And then when I got all my information in my head, I need to have a talk with you.
I'm talking right then.
Yeah.
I don't want to calculate nothing. You just said you went to the gas. You said you went to the gas station. I thought you said you went to the mall. Y'all know how I am. Yes. Right. Y'all know how I am.
See, I'm going to do both. I might, because it depends on what it is for me. If it's something like, if it's big, then no, I'm coming at you.
That's immediate,
Yeah, I'm coming at you right now. But if it's moderate, I'm like, okay, hold on. Let me check myself real quick. Let me make sure what I'm thinking is all right. Am I tripping? Am I tripping? Because something about that didn't sound right. And then I'm about to come confront you.
And see, the thing for me, I don't like holding I don't care if it's big or small, just because I don't want those little minions like that to start building, and then I get and then I start having resentments, because the resentments can build real quick, And so, like I said, I call myself, as best I can, being as transparent as I can, and so that means me telling you what I just heard that don't sound right. You know, not just with my information, but also with what I'm hearing too, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Something I want to add to the whole secrets thing is Dr. Strickland talked about, you know, different levels. There's also different types of secrets. And so there are 3 different types of secrets. There's the individual secrets, the internal family secrets, and the shared family secrets. The individual secret is a secret that's kept by one person from the rest of the family, and it includes things like a teenager hiding their romantic relationship or not coming in at curfew, and they're able to sneak into the house. Now, each one of these, though, can have levels. So you can still have Dr. Strickland's level 1, level 2, level 3. It's not just a lower level
Just
type.
because it's individual.
Yes. So you can have that extramarital affair going on. And, you know, a lot of things that we've seen in session is sometimes you'll have the parent taking the kids with the extramarital affair. And you like, you thought that was wise, dude?
You
Yes.
didn't think your kid was going to tell their mama?
So
Okay.
that's just not, that's not healthy.
That's
you
not
know?
smart.
No, no, not. And one of the things that I need, if teenagers listen, one of the things that I need for teenagers to understand is that this is how you lose trust with your parents. When you're sneaking out, when you have this secret relationship, when you have things going on at school and you're not sharing those things because it's affecting your life and you're keeping these secrets from your parents. And that's a way for you to lose their trust for you, which then leads to you not being able to hang out with your friends all the time, not being able to hang out with your boyfriend all the time, you know, not allowing you to drive the car when you want. And then the other secret of, you know, using drugs or drinking alcohol as a teenager, that's definitely a way. That's a level 3.
Yeah. It ends up being like this paradoxical thing. It ends up causing the thing that you don't want.
Exactly.
You know, you don't want your parent to be involved. You don't want them knowing all your business. But if you're keeping things from them, especially things that are serious, then they definitely going to get it. Once they figure out something is going on, they definitely are getting in your business.
Yeah. And people that love you and care about you can feel when something is off. They may not know what that something is, but they can feel it is off.
Agreed.
And then they're not going to, like Dr. Jones and Strickland said, they're no longer going to trust you.
Yeah.
It's going to become a problem. And then also it prevents you from being able to be vulnerable with them because you're keeping part of yourself away from them.
And it caused division.
Yep.
You know, when you're in a house with a house full of people, division is definitely something that can ruin relationships, and then you don't know how to rebuild it, especially if you're a teenager and parent, because you don't. So then you just continue to grow and grow and grow in age, and then you don't even know how to reconcile that.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And, you know, we'll probably talk about this a little bit for all of the different types of secrets. But the longer you hold on to stuff, we've talked before in different sessions that it will start to have a physical effect on you. You know, holding on to a secret, that is a stress beyond what most people can't even imagine, especially the more intense the secret is, the more effect it's going to have on you physically. You know, we've talked about, I believe in our stress management session, which session 1, right?
Yep.
We talked about this in stress management, that one, your body doesn't really know the difference between good stress and bad stress. It just knows that something's going on and you, okay,
What we doing?
yeah, your mind knows the difference, but your body physically doesn't necessarily know. And if you are walking around with a bunch of secrets, like for example, if you are, you belong to the LGBTQ plus community and you are fearful of coming out and you are holding on to that from your family, you know, this is the type of thing that leads to suicide for some people.
Anxiety, depression.
Yes.
Body
Anorexia.
dysmorphia.
You know, it can lead to you try to control your life in all of these other ways because you feel, you know, secrets have a way of growing legs and morphing. So then you feel like this thing is, it takes control of you.
Yeah.
But then on the flip side, especially with that type of secret, you also have to be open. Like, if I don't feel like you're a person that's going to be able to hear my secret and protect my emotions, as well as
Yes.
as well as receive it without judging me, I'm not going to share that secret with you. And then that's no longer on me because I'm protecting me.
Yeah. It's both sides can have some fault in that.
So, and this is for everybody, but particularly parents, if you're going to ask your child what's wrong with them, don't ask them if you're not ready for the answer.
Yeah.
Because you may get a mouthful that may not be as simple as, well, me and my friend had a argument. No. It may not be something simple like that. It may be something bigger, like coming out.
I talk about that, or I have spoken about that when I've had younger clients that have had abuse, sexual abuse. And when I talk to the parent, because then, I let any child that I'm working with, anything that has to do with your safety, there's no secret. I'm not.
I say the same thing.
It doesn't matter. Your safety is number one. So I'm going outside of safety. I will not specifically talk about what you say in session. I will give them general themes. But if it's a safety concern, I'm going to specifically tell your parent what you said. I will give you an opportunity to do it first. And then I will give you if you can't do it on your own, I will give you an opportunity for me to do it with you. And even if that is too much, then I will do it for you. And if in the times I've had to do it for the client, I try to prepare the parent like, look, you cannot react to what you're about to hear. Your child is about to tell you something that is going to hurt you, probably more than you've ever been hurt in your entire life. But you need to have the most stoic, flat response that you can muster, because they're going to test you to see if the little bit that I did give you, how are you reacting to the little bit that I did give you?
Is your love loyal?
And that's one of the things that I've often said to my adults, that adults need to have testers like teenagers, because they will definitely do just what Dr. Strickland just said, give you just a little bit to see how you gonna react. And if you react poorly, they're not gonna tell you nothing else.
Never again.
Never.
And then that's, again, going back to kind of what we've been talking about, guys, that this is how secrets continue to go on for generations. Because I gave you my tester. I can't, oh my gosh, it just hurts my heart. I cannot tell you how many clients I've had that have come in and have been abused and said, well, I told my mama. And she said, well, what did you do? Or she didn't believe me.
Or they may have, left the boyfriend or husband or whatever, but then they didn't sit down with you and talk to you about any of it. You just had to go on like life goes on.
Or they believed you and they chose him over you.
Yes.
Or her, whichever.
Yeah. So, and that's how, again, like we've been kind of talking about, how these things go on for generations, where people in the family know certain things are going on, but no one talks about it. No one holds anyone accountable. And people are allowed to continue to perpetrate and abuse across several generations.
Yeah. And we gonna get into that one, because that fall up under that third one.
Yeah. Let's dial it back a little bit.
The second one is internal family secrets, and that's going to involve two people who are keeping secret from one person or many other people in their family, and that can be the birthday present from a child, or that can be the divorce one. It's what ends up happening in those situations is that you create a split loyalty, and the person who knows both sides is torn between, do I rat you out and lose your trust, or do I break this person's trust and not tell them anything? And it's not a predicament you should be putting somebody in that you truly love.
Because now you've put that person in the middle.
Yeah, and they can't maintain that.
Right. Because then the thing is, okay, then my loyalty lies to you, but I also have loyalty to you. But if I don't tell you, then you're going to think and believe that I don't have loyalty to you.
It's an almost impossible position to be in.
Yeah. Intergenerational.
Yes.
Wow.
Not here for it. Don't ask me to keep no secrets that's harmful. Don't infringe on my rights, because I'm not keeping that.
Yep.
Not if it's keep me with no heart attack. I'm good, thank you.
Right.
Okay. I got enough stress
As
in my life as it
y'all
is.
know it's 2020, right?
Yeah. 2020 has been here for 5 years.
Okay. I know. This has been the longest, shortest year ever.
It's going quickly, fast, slowly.
Right.
But yeah, that the internal family secret will kind of be on a loop, and it just keeps going and keeps going until somebody breaks. And it don't be a good break at all.
If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's certain tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. That's ANCHOR.FM.
Yeah.
But the third one, the final one, which Dr. Strickland was alluding to earlier, is shared family secrets. And these are the ones that are like the big mama ones. Like, this ain't no joke.
Yeah.
Like, it's about to bring down the whole family in some type of way. They're gonna turn against each other. It's pieces of information known within the family but forbidden to outsiders on one hand, but they also are never solved or healed. That's where you get the generations of substance abuse. You get the perpetrators on other folks in the family. The common saying is, what goes on in this house stays in this house. You don't be telling stuff our business. Ain't nobody out here trying to be dysfunctional like that no more.
Right.
You know, that is steeped in, especially in African American history, that is steeped in not trusting people who were lighter complected than us because of the nature of how most people were brought to America. You also see this in a lot of Native American tribes. I wish a foreigner would come up in here.
Yeah.
They'd be like, "Who are you? Oh, you're not crossing that boundary." And so in that sense, yeah, that's understandable. You want to be protective of your tribe, your family unit, your culture, but you can't do that to an extent where now you're killing the people that you love emotionally and mentally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you get people who don't know how to cope because they are trying to cope with this secret, not knowing if this secret is out, and you begin to communicate about the secret, you no longer have to cope with this big secret, and now you can learn how to cope in a healthy way.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to cope and you have this big secret.
Yeah. And there's a re-traumatization that happens with this, especially when you have people that are perpetrators, on the family, or even with substance abuse. If you're continuing to have to be around this person. So you have been abused by somebody and you still got to go to the family function and you still got to, hug them and, speak to them. People don't think about this, but that is a re-traumatization every single time you force this person to be around someone that has hurt them, in terrible ways. And these are some of the reasons why people cut off their family.
Yep.
You know, they get up and they leave and they're like, you know what, you know, F this, I'm not dealing with this no more. And they just leave and they never come back. You don't hear from them, you know, all these types of things, because there comes a point where it's either I'm going to protect me or I'm going to slowly kind of die inside of this system.
Yeah. I find that this one has a lot to do with image.
Yeah.
How the family as a whole is seen. Don't you disrupt my good name. Oh, your name ain't good. First of all, it's borrowed from a plantation. That's the first thing. But it's not good in the first place. So it's this thing of like protecting the family from being judged, or protecting the perpetrator because maybe they the patriarch of the family or whatever. I'm one of those people in my personal life. Oh, let all this fall apart.
Well, and the thing is, people continue to think that confronting it has to lead to something aggressive and negative, and it don't. Now, granted, if you're an adult and these things have some sort of abuse has happened, you're past the statute of limitations, so they're probably not going to go to jail. But the thing is, you can still confront the perpetrator.
And they don't have to like it.
And they don't. They're not going to like it.
Yeah.
And so expect it.
They may deny it.
They may.
Or they may not even remember.
They may not remember. They may not. But I have had a client that said that she did, and her perpetrator apologized.
And that does happen.
And that happens too.
Does.
And so there is a way for you to still be able to do this in a healthy way and still get what you need.
Yeah.
You know, it can go either way, but either way, you can get it off of you, because honestly, although you may have been, you are the survivor, all of that pain and the hurt and resentment, that don't even belong to you.
Yeah.
That belongs to them because they were the perpetrator.
Yeah, it creates, a wall in the family. It's like each individual person is in their own little shut off place. It's like a honeycomb. And
that's a good visual.
Y'all all together, but y'all all separate. Y'all some dysfunctional, non-emoting people. And there has to come some point where you start, doing the work. You break those generational curses and you don't continue that stuff. But if there's never any acknowledgement of these secrets for yourself, I'm not saying you get somebody to acknowledge they did something to you. You can do that work if it's possible, but it's about you. How am I holding up? Am I healed? Am I dealing with my stuff? Because if you don't, you about to pass that on to your kids, or you gonna pass it on to your little cousins or nieces, nephews, whatever the situation, to your dog. You know what I mean? Like, okay, do the
get
work.
Get that Freud out there. Displacement. Them defense mechanisms, because we need to have one about defense mechanisms.
We definitely do.
Because I'm thinking about family secrets. Just when you said that, I'm like, yeah, that creates all kinds of defense mechanisms.
Yeah. You can't create. What you grow up with is going to determine how you can exist outside of your family home. And there are a lot of people who are the same age internally of whenever they got hurt, and they never grew up, they never healed, and we got a whole bunch of adult babies out here.
Oh yeah. The inner child. I love doing inner child work.
Yes,
I do too.
And I always say, look, it's about to be real hippy-dippy what we're about to do in here. And they're like, what you mean, Dr. Strickland?
Because you got to take care of the inner child.
We're going to talk about your inner child.
Oh, they hate that work. Ooh, they hate that work. That letter.
It's tough. It's tough work because you have to actually go back.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to bury your inner child and recreate them. Sometimes you got to go right. I always have we've said this in a past session, I always have my clients, when they dealing with that stuff, write a letter to their younger self to help them feel supported, because you got to reconcile the parts. You live in a very disjointed life, and then once they get through that and we've healed that past trauma, I make the younger self write a letter to the adult.
Yeah, I always have my clients to start by paying attention to what the inner child is telling them. Like when you get in a situation where you feel like you're very, very uncomfortable, very, whatever emotions come up that is very uncomfortable for you. Like, what is the inner child telling you?
Because that joker is smart. Because children operate off of intuition and vibes. That's why kids are so cold-blooded
And observant.
They're observant. They will tell you what they think. And I'm a firm believer in don't ever shut your kids off from that. Guide them and help direct them.
Yeah, so it's productive.
Exactly.
Yes.
And another part of that, and I know I'm kind of on my soapbox of being a sex therapist, is teach your children what consent look like.
And teach them
Hugs
what good and
and
bad
everything.
touches
Yes.
are and who they should be coming from.
Yeah.
Yes. Don't force your child to hug people. Don't force your child to say hi to people.
Ask.
Yeah. Do you want to
Ask.
go hug Aunt Julia?
And if they say no, you be like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is you mad at her? Like, you can ask questions,
Yeah.
but you shouldn't be like, well, why you don't want to? No.
And don't be like, girl, go on over there and hug your aunt.
Nope.
No, I
Not
don't
at
want
all. Because then you teach them that people can make me feel uncomfortable and I got to take it and give them what they need instead of what I need.
to. Exactly.
Even in the office, like, they all know I'm a what is it? A touch person, a physical touch person. And I will still ask them, you need a hug? They'll be like, I do.
Yeah. No, that's real.
You know, and again, that still ties back to secrets, you know, because if you're taught in your family that your body is not your own, then
that's a recipe for disaster when they become an adult.
right. Because you're taught your body is not your own in a very traumatic way, but then how that plays out in a real world, you know, regular setting is like we were just saying, well, go hug her, go say hi to. That's it in a quote unquote safe way, even though it's not, but it gives the
It's
umbrella.
safer.
Yeah, it's the umbrella and the veil of being done safely. But you've learned these other ways in which my body is not my own.
So when I go out on a date and he wants to have sex, I have to have sex since my body is not my own.
Oh, he bought me dinner. Okay, so I guess that means I got to, or vice versa, because this happens. You know,
happens
this
both sides.
it happens with men as well.
Exactly.
It ends
Because
up creating
we're
a
not going to
culture.
say that women out here are not
No,
perpetrators
they
as
are.
well.
Oh, yeah.
They definitely are.
And I would probably venture to say that we're a little bit more,
Calculated.
yes, that's the word I was looking for.
And it's sad because Dr. Strickland has said this several times. Men don't make an outcry.
They don't have permission to.
They don't have permission to. And then if they do, it's like, dude, like, she a grown, you got to have sex with a grown woman. What you
You should
complaining
want
about?
that.
Exactly.
That's a notch on your belt.
Exactly.
Or your bedpost, whichever one you want. But it ends up creating a culture in your family system, or, you know, whoever these traumas are happening with, but it ends up creating a culture that says that this is acceptable. This is okay. Somebody that kind of pops up in my head that was recently a few months back in the news is Lil Boosie.
I swear I was thinking
And how he been out here getting ladies of the night, because we're not trying to get demonetized, to be intimate with his minor children. And by minor, I mean not even teenage yet. And that's a rite of passage. But yet they're not going to do that to the daughters. Not saying that they should, but there's this weird dichotomy going on in his family system. I'm like, you are participating in sexual assault.
And just because the child is a boy
Doesn't mean that that's appropriate.
No.
Yeah.
And it's so common because I know the artist formerly known as Lil Wayne, because I don't know who he is right now, but the artist formerly known as Lil Wayne had this exact same experience. And it's a very common thing that ends up happening. And it takes me back to when we were doing the trope tripping 2 episode when we were talking about buck breaking.
Yes.
Y'all doing the exact same thing that was forced upon people centuries ago and don't even realize y'all doing it because y'all haven't broke the trauma.
Yeah. And that's
Yeah, we could go into a whole lot of things on the disparities between let me not say men and women, boys and girls. because there's a different disparities between men and women, but there's a lot of differences in how we treat boys and girls, and some of the things that are okay for girls and okay for boys, and not okay for girls and not okay for boys. And, you know, just kind of keeping in with our secret thing, you know, for boys, like we've said, if they are having relations with an adult female, women can be perpetrators too and do some of the same, you know, grooming and, well, don't tell nobody because insert reason.
If I can't tell nobody what you're doing, this is illegal and inappropriate.
Yeah. You know, a movie comes to mind, and I don't know if everybody has seen the movie or read the books, is 50 Shades of Grey. And so a lot of people who haven't read or seen the movies think that this is just about getting tied up somewhere. That is not what it's about. It really goes into depth about this adopted individual's trauma and what he has lived through in his before he was adopted by his family, and then what he lived through at the hands of a family friend. And the fact that he had been told that this was okay by this person. Mama didn't, well, adopted mama didn't know, adopted father didn't know. But as soon as they found out, oh, it was on and popping. Yeah. Mom was like, oh, get out of my house. You know, and it's sad. And he would not have been free of her if his boo thing hadn't been like, that's not normal. That's not okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, secrets. Oh,
they'll kill you.
Yeah.
So,
and the family dynamic.
Yes. Yeah. It creates such unhealthy dynamics that are so unconscious. You know, these are not like things that we just walk around thinking, you know, I'm going to hold this family secret and I'm just going to, you know, it's not like that. You know, it is in a certain look, you know, or the change in tone of someone's voice, or, you know, certain words that are spoken. You know, it's very subtle a lot of times. It's not a big overt, like someone's going to say, don't tell anyone. Now, of course, that does happen a lot in like certain particular types of situations. But for the most part, a lot of things in families are just unspoken rules.
You have to really, as an adult, you have to live intentionally. And you really have to be checking in with yourself and have a good amount of self-awareness. An area of family that I also want to make sure we just briefly touch on is your church family.
I almost dropped the mic and I'm not even holding it.
I was like, it's in a stand. But because, you know, we live in the Bible Belt and church is such an ingrained part of a lot of people's world, or spirituality is ingrained into a lot of people, that part of family, that part can't do no wrong. And they normally do some of the most wrong. So just so you know, all this applies to them too.
I've heard that from several clients actually, that have subsequently left whatever religion they were a part of. It's been various Catholic, Mormon, Baptist,
all over.
But that they did not feel that they could, you know, really come to people with questions, come to people with like who they genuinely were. And a lot of times it happens for my queer individuals. I'd probably say that's my more frequent people that leave their respective churches or religion, but you know, they just didn't feel like they could walk in who they are.
Yeah. I have seen a lot of African American women be sexually assaulted by their ministers. And I mean full-fledged intimacy. They got kids they age.
A wife.
Yep. They are prominent figures in this area. And my clients have had to file, you know, anonymous reports and give different things. Like you having a whole situation, and the wife know.
Oh, wow.
I was like, oh, we not doing this on my watch. This is what we not going to do. Now, it take a while before they ready to report, because I can't re-traumatize my client. But it does come to a point where I'm like, okay, I have to report this, because there are children in the congregation, there are other things going on, and they be grooming.
Yeah.
You know, this is stuff you see on Lifetime,
Mm,
not
yeah.
in your face, but it's happening.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's scary.
It is because I've actually had clients that also reported, but they were children, like teenagers, and they were part of ministries and they were picked up by
Nope.
the leader
Jeez.
Nope.
and was made to go with him because he was supposedly taking her to practice.
You ain't got no reason to take my kid nowhere.
And see, when you don't teach your children how to express and understand people, understand intent, understand, like you said, Dr. Wall, consent, you know, they can internalize this, that there's something wrong with me.
Yep.
That I deserved whatever took place.
It was my fault.
It was my fault.
Or I want to be a good kid.
I was going to say, or in a twisted way, I was special.
Exactly. I'm not going to say this person's name at all, but one of my little sisters that I kind of adopted when I was still in my hometown, something like this happened to where an older individual, I almost said gentleman because ain't nothing gentle about him, but where she was preyed on. And that trauma has been long lasting and something that it took a really long time for her to get over. Of course, now she's doing great, married, got babies and stuff like that. So, you know, she was able to get through it. But it always is like, why weren't you paying attention? You can't trust people just because you like them. That's not a good enough reason.
Right.
So let me, since we're on this, we've been on this topic of some sort of sexual abuse for parents, and if you have your children listening to this episode, one of the things or some of the things to look out for from perpetrators is that one, they are while they're grooming, they are either super nice. So they give them everything they want. They praise them to the highest, or, you know, they always want to be around them. That's one. Or they go the completely opposite way. They're really, really mean to them. And they're really, really mean. That can be one way, because when it comes time for them to make an outcry, what happens is they won't be believed because you already think, oh, well, you didn't like him anyway.
Yeah.
Like, well, he's always so mean to you.
Right. And one of the things I never understood, one of my aunts, she can't stand to see adults wrestle with children. And I never understood that until I started working with sex offenders. And one of the things that you definitely have to watch out for, parents, is wrestling and taking your children to the restroom and bathing. Those are key because the wrestling, they can mistakenly touch any inappropriate body part. And when they're bathing, they have a reason to touch that area. And if they take them to the restroom, they have a reason to touch that area. So no one suspects it being an unhealthy touch because it's expected.
Yeah.
So you have to be really careful with who you have your children around. And you have to pay attention to your children, because they'll let you know that something feels different. And I remember when I first started working with sex offenders, it was an article I was reading, and this little boy kept going to school and telling his teacher that my dad always eats my hot dog. The teacher was like, okay, she thinking it's food.
Yeah.
Come to find out, it was something else. And so I always tell my parents to teach their children the nicknames and the correct terms for the body parts, because they give them these little cutesy names. And so when they report it, no one knows what they're talking about.
Yeah.
They, so there's some tidbits.
Yeah. Which I think, again, goes back to kind of everything that we've been saying. This is why, if you've had these experiences in your life and you talking about these things and not keeping them to yourself, again, you do need to tell every single nitty gritty detail. No, but if you've had these types of experiences in your life and you have children, it is holding that and preventing them from understanding those types of things, to if it happens to them, like, oh wait, my mom said,
yep,
or my dad said,
yep,
that this can be like this, so it's essential to not, depending upon the type of secret, depending upon the level of the secret, it is essential to really think about how holding that is benefiting you, and then how does it benefit the world around you.
Yeah.
I did kind of want to, I know this may feel like a sharp left turn to you guys, so I'm going to apologize and disclaim that right now. But can you ladies think of a time where having either a secret or a family secret is beneficial?
I mean, like we were saying, like if you have a surprise coming up, a surprise engagement, like I threw my mom one of those, anniversary mark, birthdays or whatever, and I was like, everybody got to be secret. Like that's a good thing. Or if you're studying for something and you don't want too much pressure, that's a limited amount of time that you're going to be like that. And then as soon as you're done, you can tell everybody, I passed, I did this. Like it should be a relief.
I think to add on to that, I would say when it needs to be an appropriate time and or age. So I would say, like, I know we talked about adoption earlier. A child is not going to understand that they're adopted if they're 6 months. You're telling them you're adopted. They don't understand that. So like appropriate age may be like 4, maybe 5, to let them know that they've been adopted.
When you start talking about the family parts.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
So I would say age and timing.
Okay.
Yeah. And just to piggyback on what you're saying, Dr. Jones, it's important to realize that your kids are intelligent. You can tell them the information and make it age appropriate. You keeping stuff from them is not helping them be able to process what's going on. It's actually a hindrance, and it essentially ties their hands behind their back, and they cannot participate in the situation that's going on.
Because you're the parent. You teach them. You help them to process.
Yeah.
What about you, Dr. Strickland? What you think?
I agree with what you ladies have said, that for me, it kind of depends on the intensity of whatever the secret is. If it's something fairly small, like we talked about, birthday, anniversary, graduating, some sort of party, or you're taking a test of some sort, or if it's going to be time limited, like even if it is an intense secret, like if I'm sick, but I need time to process it myself, to even understand like what in the world, the news that I just got.
Yeah.
And to make sure you get all of the information.
Right. So that then I don't unintentionally hurt my family, because whatever news, if it's something like that, it's going to hurt them. But if I don't know all of the details, and when they start asking me 11 questions and I don't have the information, it can then cause a whole nother set of issues to be, created, because people are very good about filling in the blanks.
Yes.
With their own storyline.
Assumption.
So if it's going to be a time limited, even if it's a big one, then, there is some benefit to that. And I even think like this is less, this is not as prevalent now as maybe as it was back then, but like I'm thinking, having a child out of wedlock used to be very detrimental to a family.
Yeah.
So sometimes having, even though, you don't want to hide a child, but not disclosing that this child was born out of wedlock, would have been beneficial to the family, because that would have been a financial burden, that would have been a social burden. So I think there was some family secrets back in the day that would have made a lot of sense. Again, in today's time, that's not necessarily as big of an issue. But I think it just kind of depends.
Unless you're in the church.
But
yes,
but giving up a child for an adoption,
yes,
is one that
it's
people
still there.
Mm-hmm.
It has a lot of stigma and shame attached to it, instead of it being seen from a place of a blessing and to give the child a better life. It's all about how you process things and really think about what you're going to need further down the line, because you might want to open adoption versus a closed one. Like, you really have to be in the right headspace, and that's not always going to be simple or easy.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we tend to end our sessions off with a quote. So today's quote is brought to you by Heather Brooke. It reads as follows: "Leaks are not the problem. They are the symptom. They reveal a disconnect between what people want and need to know and what they actually do know. The greater the secrecy, the more likely a leak."
Must be this volume control.
So, okay, interns, process your notes. Be sure to catch us next session and find us on all major platforms at The Recycled Podcast.
If you're a new intern, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share.
Thanks for listening. And remember, we are shifting and reshaping our psyche through healing conversations and connections, one discussion at a time.